What's up, everyone? My name is Syed Askari, and welcome to the fifth episode of Contractor Chronicles show. Last 5 years, my focus, as you guys know, have been to empower contractors to expand their businesses through digital advertising and content creation. And that is the reason why I started this podcast, to share some inspiring stories in the pool industry, builders, contractors, architects who are massively growing their business. So let's jump right in. And today we've got a very special guest, one of the best pool design and consulting firm. He's the owner based out of Miami, Florida. So they pretty much do everything from residential pools, in-down water features, ponds, hotspots, cold plunges, you name it, commercial resorts. They've actually won the LP Magazine Pinnacle Award 2023. And one of the craziest projects that I saw on their website was their Lambo pool, which we're going to talk about during our podcast. So I want to welcome Mr. Jonny Nalepa, the owner of Smart Aquatics. Jonny, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much for having me, Syed. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Of course. Well, I know we haven't quite acquainted in the past, but I've been following your page on social media, and you post some really interesting, cool projects. So why don't we just start off with just give us a quick rundown of how you got started in the pool industry.
Oh my goodness, how much time do we have? I don't know if an hour is enough. But
we'll keep it an hour for now.
Yeah, no, I'll give you the short version of it. And really, it's just been a lifelong journey, really. So my parents started a pool service and repair business some 40 years ago now. So I grew up in the pool industry. You know, I grew up, I think as early as the age of like 5, I was just remember riding around in my dad's pool truck, cleaning pools and stuff. So that's really how I got into it. It was a family affair. It was a family business. We were the type of family that had the test kits on the kitchen counter and PVC and plumbing and stuff. And our garage was basically, they ran the business out of the home. And so they'd have team meetings, in the living room and stuff. And I'd overhear my dad hire and fire people. So that's how I got into it, and I did that for about 25 years. I was, grew from cleaning the pool, servicing to repairs, repairing pumps and motors and plumbing in systems and stuff, up to, and I did everything from 800-gallon spas to 200,000-gallon commercial swimming pools.
Wow.
And then, so I just kind of kept growing and growing in the industry, and in my family's business. I kind of hit a ceiling there a little bit. I was always felt like I wanted to do something more. I was always very creative. I was very artistic. I got that from my mom. My mom's also very artistic and stuff. So I started going to school I started studying architecture in school for design.
Okay.
So, and actually there was a point where I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I was kind of I wanted to do something more. And one of my best friends to this day, Manny Sarahovinich, actually, we were having a conversation about this. I was like, I don't really know what I want to do. But I kind of outgrew the family business. It wasn't challenging enough for me, right? I'd been doing that my whole life. By the time I was 25, I knew more about pools than most people even still. And so, but I knew that I had a passion for design. And I was studying architecture at the time, and I was just kind of caught in between. And I'll never forget, man. Manny just so casually was like, dude, why don't you just design pools? It makes sense. I was going to school for design. And I knew everything there is to know about pools. And it didn't even occur to me, that never even occurred to me until that moment. And I didn't even know that this side of the industry existed,
Now,
So
did you go to school in
like,
Miami?
Shit. So I went to school in Miami, went to Miami-Dade, and went to FIU. And I studied architecture. I started out with business like everybody does, right?
Yeah.
And then when I really wanted to, go pursue my passion, the design and architecture was really what I was after. So from there, I ended up getting a job at a consulting firm, an aquatic consulting firm, and I grew there pretty quickly. I made partner after 2 or 3 years, and then after about the year number 5, I kind of just hit my ceiling there, and then I left. I literally walked out of the office one day, which was not the plan at all. So I left the office one day and never looked back, and that's when I started this Smart Aquatics. And it was at the end of 2019, and then 3 months later, in February or March of 2020, that's when COVID happened. So
yeah,
it's been a roller coaster. But so we've been in business 5 years now, and we've just been very fortunate.
Nice. So this you are pretty much like a second generation contractor, right? In your family, your parents owned it, and then obviously you took on from there. Now, Smart Aquatics is that your company, or has this been branched off from your parents as well?
No, so Smart Aquatics is my company. I own it
Okay,
outright. I left my parents' company, and I
I
went
got
to
you.
work for somebody else. I learned what I learned there, and then I started my own company. So,
Love it, love it. Now let's talk a little bit about your brand, your company, Smart Aquatics. What is it locally known for in Miami, Florida? Like, what's so unique
so,
about Smart Aquatics?
so we like to think of ourselves as the premier design, engineering, and construction management, or we call it consulting sometimes. And so that's what's unique about our firm is that we provide kind of a one-stop shop for the entire process of design, engineering, and construction, and in the sense where we're serving clients of like the 1%, right? A lot of our projects are seven-figure projects just for the swimming
Sure, sure.
pool. And so, there are plenty of companies who are design build, but we actually have a design and engineering firm where we have senior architects and where that is solely the purpose of of, of that firm, which is Smart Aquatics, is design and engineering, and then the construction management thing is something is completely separate. So, um, it's difficult to do everything. It's difficult to be design build in one firm. Very few people do that successfully on this level, in my opinion. And so it was very important for us to do one thing first, get this established, and now we're moving into the construction management aspect because now we have the time and resources to dedicate um, those type of resources to do quality job, I guess.
That's amazing, dude. I have so many questions about your company itself. I want to start off with just like what's been your strategy to acquire clients? Like how did you grow, and how are you getting customers right now? Because I know getting top
Oh,
1% in Miami, in my opinion, it's through networking, partnerships. But what's been your strategy?
right. Well, I mean, that's true. Relationships, we hear this kind of stuff all the time. And I'm a big quotes guy, and I love, I follow a lot of these guys on Instagram and TikTok and everything. And, these motivational guys and all that stuff they're saying, man, it's real. Like the relationship is a real thing, man. Um, when I left my previous company, again, that was not the plan. I literally walked out one day. I just bought a house, I just bought a car. And so that was for the first time in my life, I was like, I didn't have a job. I grew up working in the family business and doing this and that. And so, um, my relationships with different individuals for whatever even people that had established business much older than
Yeah,
me and just established they have families and business and just reaching out to me and seeing how I'm doing and checking in on me, do I need work and stuff. So my relationships is really what's and my network is what got me off the ground. And from there, when COVID happened, I think we may have all expected the worst, but it was a blessing in disguise for us because everybody, as you know, like everybody
yeah.
started to spend money on their homes. So I think so year one was tough for me just because it was, and then year two and three, I think we increased like 140% both of those years.
Oh
And
wow,
that was the COVID boom.
the
So
COVID boom.
everything's been word of mouth up until this point. It's been word of mouth. It's been referrals. It's been just providing good work. And then someone sees, hey, call me up, say, hey, I saw your plans on this. And, some of the plans we send out to one contractor doesn't always, he may not get it and it goes to bid and then a couple of different people see it. So we've just been providing quality work and designs and plans. And we've had plenty of people say, hey, your renderings are better than the architecture firm that's involved here, or these are the nicest set of pool plans I've ever seen. And so we just try to focus on quality. That's kind of how we were raised and doing a good job. Um, and so really word of mouth is how we got to where we are now. But now that we have, I mean, like a team of 10, I initially thought that because I knew everything about pools, I mean, that's another unique thing about us is I'm the one operating the business. So I used to be the one in the field cutting pipe, laying rebar, doing, whatever, servicing the pools. I know everything about water chemistry. And so I used to think that was, and that for a time, that was our biggest asset because it was just me working on the business, right? So when clients would call, they would see that I'm really young. And we've even had a couple of clients make comments about that. They say, "Oh, how old are you, man? You look really young." And then once I start talking about, um, you know, whatever we're talking about, concrete, rebar, chemistry, whatever, then they're like, "Oh, okay." So that was for a time, that was my biggest asset, man, that I was a hustler. I would stay up 20 hours, man, working 20. I did that for 2 years and worked myself into
Yeah.
a just burnout, essentially. I wasn't taking care of myself, I wasn't eating properly. But then with the boom and everything, and I knew that I needed more people, I quickly realized that that was no longer, the biggest asset now is I need to be a leader. I need to teach everybody. I need to get everything in here and give it to my team so that they can then go do that so I can do the next thing. And I needed to spend time learning how to be a business owner and how to run a business. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 2 years, I think now is just learning how, I mean, obviously I'm still running the business and everything day to day, but now that we have a solid team, that took 3 years to get, to find the right people, man. That's another thing. I had to learn everything, how to do everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a time where I was doing everything. Now I mostly delegate, and my job is just to learn and lead the vision of the company. So now one of those aspects to get to your point is the sales and marketing of it. Now we're focused on building our sales pillar, and sales and marketing are two different things, as you know. So which I just recently learned that, by the way.
Yeah.
So we're doing a couple things with emails, and so social media is one of them. Obviously, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on social media so far, just on Instagram. So that's one of the other things, and then direct B2B, business to business, is we're working on now, our CRM, our sales cycle, and stuff like that. So now we're turning it into a real sales team and division. So
I kid you not, man, I could relate to that a lot because when I started my agency, I was the same way. It was just me and working 20, 30, 40, 50 hours a week, sometimes 80 hours a week, like working even
yeah,
weekends, one person. And then I'm like, this is not scalable. There's no way. There's only so much Syed can do. So that's when you're like,
right,
hey,
right,
let's start hiring people. But then to your point, how do you bring on good people who you can trust, right? Like you're literally trusting your baby, your business with these people. So building systems, processes, and then delegating these tasks over to them only to expect like they would do it exactly how you would want it. It might not be 100%, but like slowly and slowly you get better at hiring. Like my first few hires, dude, I absolutely sucked at it. I'm like, dude, I don't even know why I hired these people. And then over time, once you start hiring more and more people, you know exactly what you're looking for in that role.
right, right.
Is that what you saw as well, like on your
Oh
end?
man, yeah, no, we're definitely gonna get together after this and talk shop and stuff. But yeah, man, exactly, you're exactly right. And you know when you're talking to somebody who's been through it, because they all the little intricacies and nuances that you wouldn't otherwise know. It's a nightmare trying to hire people. Especially, guess what? It's hard enough to hire good people and the right people, and know that that this person needs to be in this seat
Yeah.
particularly. Because you could hire a great person, but guess what? If they're not doing the thing that they're the best at or most efficient at, then you may as well have hired the wrong person. But that's hard enough by itself. But then again, to add to that, I didn't know how to hire. Like I didn't know, how to hire people, how to interview people to really extract from
Yeah.
them what I needed to make a proper and educated decision. So I had to learn, and I just story of my life. I guess I learned things the hard way.
Yeah.
So that was very, very difficult because it adds to your, um, you know, it adds to the workload, man, because it's an investment for you to teach somebody and train somebody and spend hours. You have to, that's hours on top of everything else that you're doing now, especially when you start to get one person, then two people, then three people, then four, and then you have 10 people and you're like, shit, how did this happen? Um, so
Yeah.
that, yeah, man, I had to learn how to hire people. But once you do, and by the way, I'm very intuitive. I always ask questions. And I remember, Ryan Hughes, at one point I was working with him. He's out of Tampa. They're probably one of the best design build firms in the world. But he told me once that I forget what the conversation was, but it was about like the awards and stuff like that. Because at the time I was very like, oh man, I wanted to get all these awards and stuff. And because I knew we had the projects for it
Yeah.
and the talent. And he'd give me a piece of advice, and it was that his business really didn't take off until he started, like he said he was the same way too, by the way. When you're young, that's you aspire for the awards and everything. And then he realized to get his business where he was, he said it wasn't until he started focusing on his people that things really turned around. And you know what? I also believe that you have to be in the right place to really understand when people are giving you that type of advice, because I heard what he said, you try to understand it, but I wasn't there yet in my
Yeah.
career, so it wasn't until I started hiring people, the wrong people, and then you get the first right person and you're like, oh, this is what it looks like. And now you're like, shit, now we can go to war, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So then that clicked, and I remember what he said, and it was, oh wow, now I need to focus on my people now,
My people.
finding the best. And so then we read books, and you just keep learning. That's really all I'm doing. You
No,
know,
you're right, man. There's like levels to the business, and the level that you there's a level that you unlocked, but you did not know how to play at that level, which is what the advice that
right?
he gave you is like, instead of like you doing everything, invest in these people, and then that would be like multiplying it by 10, 20 to grow exponentially, right, in your business. That's crazy, man. Like every single entrepreneur I've talked to, they've been through the same exact journey, over and over again.
Right. It's a little bit surreal because once you get through that, then you start hearing the same stuff that you've always been listening to people, and then now it's resonating. You're like, oh, So it's interesting to me when I first started reading some of these business books,
Yeah, yeah,
and that, by the way, that's a great way to put it, like unlocking the next level. It's like you can't complete, a level until you break
yep.
through the previous one, and then, so that's very interesting to me. It's almost like you have to go through each phase. You can't skip any of these steps. In order to build a business, you have to do all of these things, and you have to go through all of these struggles. And so yeah, it's been very exciting. It's been a roller coaster, really.
Yeah.
But now we have such a great team now, and that's why I'm so big on taking care of my team, making sure that they're happy. My job is to make sure they're happy and lead the vision and stuff like that, and let them get after it.
At the level that you're playing now, obviously you're working with a lot of like, celebrities, ball players, a lot of like people who do multi 8, 9 figures, 10 figures, like in revenue. They've got mansions. Having these employees, there's absolutely no way they can make mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen, but your goal is to minimize these mistakes as much as possible. How do you train them, and what's your hiring strategy at this level?
It's a dangerous game we play.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's funny. I just got off a call like 30 minutes ago where a big mistake happened in the field, and so everybody's,
Yeah.
everybody. It's really unfortunate. Everybody starts to point fingers. I wish that was a little bit different. And there are people who understand that, but at the same time, you do need to be held accountable for mistakes.
Yeah.
But look, nobody's perfect. Mistakes are going to happen. But yes, on our projects, we're dealing with. I mean, look, that property that won that Pinnacle Award we were talking about earlier, that just sold for like 250, or what was it? 215 million, 250. I don't remember. It sold for
Not 2
something
million,
like
not 20 million, 215 million.
215 million. Right. And so, we're dealing with big time developers, big time clients. I just had to sign an NDA for another project, who I can't obviously mention. But so, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. There's a lot of people involved. And a lot of finger pointing does happen, mistakes happen, and you need to be able to take responsibility when you make mistakes. But I think more people remember how you rectify a mistake than the actual mistake itself. It's how it's being able to step up and say, look, we fucked up. But here's a solution. Here's what we're gonna make it right. We're gonna get it done. And if we have to eat some costs to do that or whatever,
Yeah.
we will. So, we also have insurances and everything for stuff like that. But so, ask me that again. What was the initial question about the mistake? So, because there was
Mostly
something else
about
I wanted
hiring.
to.
What I want to know is like, what's your
Hiring.
hiring strategy now to bring the right people in? Is there any specific source that you have? Like, let's say, Indeed, LinkedIn. You're like, hey, I bring these people in from this source. This is our hiring process. These are the interview questions we ask for a specific role. Do you have a process now?
We started out with like having, when we were trying to hire, yeah, we did Indeed, we did, word of mouth and stuff like this. But what I realized is that um, once you have something, a potential, I don't know what it is really, but I have people that just reach out to us
Yeah.
sometimes and say, hey, and I think when you're doing something, I think when people can see that you're doing something positive and like something that they want to be a part of, you're creating a culture, they want to be a part of that. So for a time, we did use Indeed. We've used a bunch of different um, placement firms, but the biggest thing that, I think has just been people approaching us essentially, or saying, "Hey, my friend is looking for a job or something like that," and I told them about your company. You know, that's how we found our Simon, our 3D specialist. You know, one of my previous, actually one of my first hires, she had it had come up. He was an architect and he was looking for work or something like that, and so she had put him in touch with us. But now we get people who like inquire, and we're not even hiring. You know, we're not hiring, but we save their information. And by the way, that's the biggest thing. You know, it also shows that's the biggest thing when you're hiring people is intangibles, man. I could, you know, you could teach a chimp how to do pretty much anything.
Right.
It's the intangibles. So when I'm in an interview, I don't even care about your skills really. Everybody who applied for the job more or less has the skills, right? Within reason. Okay, there's people who just there's crazy people who say that, oh, they can do this and then they can't. Those people don't last very long at all, and obviously they probably wouldn't get hired. But the intangibles is the biggest thing.
Is it because of your brand that you've built locally on Instagram? Do you think that's why a lot of people reach out to you?
You know, I think we still have some stuff up, like on LinkedIn, on
Okay.
Indeed, on even like at one point, you know, we have something posted, I think at UM. Our offices are right by UM here, so University of Miami.
Yeah.
So we have a part-time student from UM working for us. She's doing our marketing. She's studying communications right now. So we have something up. So I guess we still have stuff up, I think. And I think that helps. But mostly we kind of know where to go when we want to hire. We also have a one placement firm that we use. We just got lucky. We finally found one that stuck, and they've been very good to us with providing us with, you know, the personnel that we need.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about your content, man. I've been watching your content for a while. You get a lot of like, you know, customers through word of mouth, but I want to know, like, how do you come up with these content ideas, like on videos? Is it you? Do you have a person dedicated who kind of comes up with these ideas?
So yeah, actually, we need another person now because the initial hire that we did from UM was for social media. And by the way, social media, a whole nother thing. I thought social media was going to be this easy thing because I have a personal account. I'm a millennial, God damn it, you know. And when you want to get, you realize when you want to get serious about sales and you want to get serious about social media stuff, it's a whole job. It's a whole career. You need somebody. So we hired a part-time communications major from UM, and she's doing a great job actually. And I think her first video that she posted got like 360,000 views or something like that. So just like anything else, man, trial and error and learning. So now we have our weekly meetings. We're consuming content together, like not as consumers anymore. We're consuming content as like applicators. Like we're looking at like what's working for other people, whether it's in our industry or not, and we're looking at what they're doing in the video. And so it's really, we're just learning and we're trying stuff. We're not afraid to try new things. And sometimes I'm like, it looks a little, you know, not as serious. Because what we do is very serious. But sometimes social media can be a little whimsical, right? And so I was always worried about coming off like maybe unprofessional. But we've kind of found a middle ground. Yeah. And I think that's it. It's just repetition. But now she's kind of switching from the social media because not into sales, because now we want to build our sales pillar. And so now I think I need somebody else to help with social media because those are two totally different things. So,
I don't know if you've noticed this on social media, but this happens to me a lot. Obviously on social media, the goal is to be authentic, be you, like who you are as a person when you're talking about a project, things like that. But what's interesting is I think a lot of people, more than they want to see the type of projects you do, they want to see more about your personal life. They want to see like, hey, what's going on behind the scenes? What are some of the mistakes? What are some of the fuck ups that this guy does? You know, that goes more viral than like your badass project that you did. I don't know if this happens to you, but this happens to me a lot. Like I'm thinking like this video is going to go viral, guaranteed, nothing happens. But then my content manager makes a video. I'm like, I don't know about this. I don't know how I feel about this. Boom, got so many views. Does it ever happen to you?
Yeah, sometimes I'm too in it sometimes. I think I overthink stuff and I'm always like, I mean, just the other day before we posted the last one we did, it was about like strip lighting. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
should we add some details? And he's like, just post it. Like, it's good, good. And it was,
Just
it was
freaking
good.
post it.
So yeah, but you know, that's a good point. Well, that's human psychology. By the way, Jordan Peterson talks about that. He says that we don't trust people who come off too like perfect because we're all imperfect, right? Our imperfections are what make us, you know, human. And so whenever there's somebody who's so perfect and whatever, and we tend to kind of shy away from that initially, right? But then I went to the 10X conference here in Miami a few years ago, and I saw um what's his name from Dirty Jobs, Mike Rowe.
Okay.
So you know what the 10X conference is? A business conference.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of successful people come and speak. It's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. It's really cool. It's a little salesy, but it's worth it. You know, we got to see Jesse Itzler's speech, and he's amazing. But anyways, to your point, what you just said about being authentic and like not shying away from the mistakes and stuff. Mike Rowe was, I think, the last speaker from Dirty Jobs, and they created that essentially on Discovery. But by the way, that whole Dirty Job was is still to date like one of the best, the most watched TV show ever, or something like that. And he talked about exactly that. He said that they created a separate camera. When they made a mistake, everybody's reaction was, okay, let's reshoot it and redo it. And he's like, no. He's like, he wanted to make it authentic. And so they got a separate camera. So anytime there was a mistake, and they actually pointed it out, and that they had a specific camera for the mistake, and they would cut to that camera, and Mike would talk through the mistake when what was happening in real time. And I think that's what So I agree with that 100%. I really think that's we've tried scripted stuff where we've come up with a little script. I mean, I think at one point we were just shooting from the hip. I mean, you have to have some like sort of idea of what you're going to do, right? Yeah. Right. But sometimes as I'm getting more comfortable doing this stuff too, because at first it's not as easy as everybody makes it seem. I don't know why. Whenever the camera's on, for some reason, it just people freeze. So we usually have an outline for what we're doing now. We're starting on lists and stuff, and but there's just as much stuff that we'll just try one. Like, hey, just do it regular, and then we'll also do the script one and see what we like better.
Yeah.
And it's just yeah.
You're like, sometimes I just free flow and see how it goes, and sometimes it's like scripted as well.
Right. Well, because I like you said, I really think the authenticity shows through sometimes, and we don't want to seem inauthentic, and really we just want to do cool projects and talk about and add value however we can. So
100%. I didn't know you follow Grand. How was 10X GrowthCon, man? Did you get a chance to meet him?
I got invited, and no, I didn't get a chance to meet him. Actually, we went to his house though, the new house that he has here in Golden Beach. We went out there twice to look at some of his pool stuff because he was having some work done. I didn't get to meet him, but we got to see. We saw Jesse Itzler, who's a billionaire, by the way, and then Cindy Pinko. She's also a billionaire. We got a couple photos with them, and then what's his name? Oh man, I can't believe this is escaping my mind. The quarterback for the Saints, Drew Brees.
Okay.
Drew Brees was there, so we got to see him. Like, this was afterwards. But the speakers were amazing. A-Rod spoke. I mean, there was so many people. It was beneficial. A little salesy. They're pushing their, they got to sell their stuff and make their money. But other than that, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard obviously there's a pitch right towards the end of the event. But do you feel like it's worth it? Like every person should go, like if they want to invest in themselves, just to kind of network. Like I feel like the energy in that room is going to be different. Like after you come out of that event, you're like a different person.
Yeah, I think that's a thing. I notice a lot of, I know Grant Cardone is the type of person who you either love him or you hate him. I could care less. I mean, a lot of people need to be able to separate like your feelings from the idea that all these successful people, you're going to be in a room with all these successful people and like-minded individuals, by the way. I mean, if you have an opportunity to sit there and listen to these guys, you should take it. I mean, obviously there's the salesy stuff you got to put up with, but that goes in one ear out the other. I don't really, I wasn't there for that. I was there and the takeaways that I did have from Jesse Itzler and Mike, those are the two biggest takeaways I had from Jesse Itzler and from Mike Rowe. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think we should be doing as much as we can to continue learning, especially from other people who have done it before. I mean, they're literally, you think about it, these guys started from nothing. I think Jesse Itzer's story, he used to live on his friend's couch, or something like that. And the
Yeah,
fact that they're coming out and willing to speak and tell you how to do it and what to do and stuff like this. And obviously it's the same, a lot of the same stuff you see on social media, but when you're in the room there, it's different. It gives you a good kick in the ass.
totally, man. No, that makes total sense. I want to go back to your Smart Aquatics. I want to talk a little bit more about your that Lambo pool. So, whose idea was that? Was that your idea? And I want to know everything about that project that you did.
Well, so yeah, that's the infamous Lambo pool now. Well, to start, I think this doesn't get said enough, but I was watching a podcast, some architect on there said this, and I'm gonna butcher it right now, but he basically said without like amazing clients, then there would be no amazing projects. Like
Yeah,
we always praise these projects and like, oh my God, this project is amazing, and they are, but without the client,
yeah,
we should also be praising these clients because without the client's journey to get to wherever they were to be able to afford this kind of stuff and the vision to want to do this kind of stuff, we wouldn't, have a job. We'd be
right.
out of jobs or whatever. So Alex Moeller was the client, and he's a big car guy. And he bought this property out in Davie or Southwest Ranches, and he wanted to make it very unique and cool. And he wanted to incorporate his cars into the house somehow. So he actually has like a Ferrari. They put they turn over different cars sometimes. I guess that's what rich people do. But like sometimes they'll have a Bentley or a Ferrari or whatever in their in his movie theater room. It's like a big pane of glass, and you could put a different car in there. So when you're watching TV or watching a movie, there's literally a Bentley or a Ferrari, whatever,
No
right next to
way.
you. It's really cool. It's really cool. Yeah, I
That's
can send you some
badass.
photos, whatever, after. But so the other thing was he wanted to incorporate his Lamborghini into the swimming pool. And so he actually hired Fox Terra was part of the design team. So it was
Okay.
Fox Terra, Smart Aquatics, and Custom Pool Systems involved on the design and development side of this. And so Fox Terra did the initial conceptual design. So they're the ones who came up with the grass edge and everything to put the car there.
Yeah.
And so we got brought on after the fact to help them develop that design, something practical and engineer it essentially. And then from there, Custom Pool Systems came in and they built the actual pool. But it's to the best of my knowledge, it's the first time that's ever been done. I don't think it's ever been done before.
Dude, I've
Um,
never seen anything like that before. I'll be honest. Like I've seen
yeah.
some we work with a lot of clients, like pool contractors in the last 3 years, like over 300, but I've never seen anything like that. How long did it take you guys to build that entire project?
It took longer than we expected. Even the design phase and the engineer, because we had to change a couple stuff and a couple things. And we had to reach out to Lamborghini to get the exact measurements and the exact wheel thickness, and we
Yeah.
hit of his model, and we wanted to make sure we weren't going to ruin the car. We had to put a big note on there too. Um, hmm. but I think it took them, I don't know, it took them like 6 months or something like that.
6 months?
But there was about, yeah, we had a pause. They get a lot of rain out in Southwest Ranches too. It rains a lot out there, so um, it was a longer build than usual, and it had a lot to do with like selecting finished materials, um,
Okay.
stuff like that. So,
Ballpark, how much would a project like that would cost?
oh my God, I get those kind of questions all the time. If I had the right answer, I, you know, I'd be a very, very wealthy man. Um, Man, they range, like materials alone could fluctuate from $100,000 to $500,000 to $500,000 in
Yeah.
just materials. Um, and materials are a very important part of the selection process because you can tell, like when you walk up to stuff, if you have a good eye or a sense of design, I mean, you can spot a cheap material from pretty far away. And like just the same way you can spot good craftsmanship if something
Right.
was built properly. So and now even with inflation and everything, um, I mean those projects cost easily 500,000 and up. I mean that's the easy way to put it, plus or minus. So 700. It just depends. Um, could be
But
five
that
to
project,
seven
I
hundred.
tell you, man, that's definitely going in the books, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Most of our projects are in the 500,000, and to over 1 million range, I would say.
Million range. How many of those do you guys do in a year? Like on an average, how many projects do you guys take on in a year?
I think last year we had 56, 56 projects last year.
56 projects.
Now, now some of those carry over. So we've been working on projects for 2 years, and like these are the
2 years.
largest projects that we have, right? So we have 3 projects that are so large it's taken us over a year to do them, and not just for us to do work. They're constantly evolving. The architecture team is changing. The structural engineer, there's a million people involved in these projects, so they evolve over the course of a couple of years, and we have to update our plans accordingly. So they can take these big ones can take a couple of years to do. So it's not uncommon.
What's been your most challenging project that you've taken on that you're like, man, this is a tough one?
That's a double-edged sword, man, because I really believe that we have the team, we can do any project, man. I really believe that, and we have some crazy stuff coming up. And I mean some stuff. We're involved with architects from all over the world, like Sayota and McLean, and they're at the forefront of design. And so these massive projects, I mean, they're designing stuff that just hasn't been done yet. And it's just stuff that's, again, at the forefront of architecture. They're paving the way, essentially. We get to help them develop some of these designs. So it's always a challenge, I guess I would say. Okay. It's always a challenge, right? None of these projects are easy, but this is what we do. So it's like the same way, I'm sure building a Ferrari, or it's not a walk in the park, but they've developed systems and processes. They know how to do it better than anybody else, right? So I'd be lying if I said that these projects weren't challenging, because they are. And sometimes we're developing things we haven't even done before. And no one's really done before. Like, look, we're doing an acrylic pool on a project here in Miami Beach. This has never been done before on a residential application, where it cantilevers out. It's fully supported by the house. It's a complete acrylic box. The floor is acrylic, the walls are acrylic, and it cantilevers out off the side of the house. Now, it's not huge, so it's relatively small, but everything's out of acrylic. We have to make custom fittings and everything, stainless steel bulkheads to waterproof it. It's a 1,000% custom swimming pool that's never been done before in a residential application. They have one in London. You've probably seen that, the Embassy Suites Garden, the one that spans between the two mid-rises, all acrylic. Well, and that one's not even all acrylic. The two halves that rest on top of the towers there are out of stainless steel. This one's, the entire thing is acrylic, and it sits on like L brackets that protrude from the house. So that is very challenging, but it's entirely doable. So I would say it's just a matter of everything's challenging, but we're up for the challenge, and we have the right people and to do these type of projects. So
I guess, like, obviously every project is difficult in its own way, challenging in its own way, but like at the end of the day, you're like, hey, your craft.
So, Syed, apologies. I know that the computer keeps recording, but on my end, it froze there. I think I'm having some internet issues, but can you repeat that last?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
What do you feel like has been the single greatest investment you've made in yourself over the years that's like paid off many, many times?
The single greatest investment that I've made in myself?
Yeah.
Right. The single greatest investment that I've made. I was not prepared for that. It's a deep question. It's deep.
I know, man. It's a loaded question. The only reason I ask is, obviously there's a lot of people listening. They're starting their landscape business, they want to get started in the pool industry, but they're always struggling to grow their business, or are just stagnated at a certain range. Like, what's been one thing that you've done that's like has been the result for where you are right now, all the success that you've achieved?
I really believe just keeping your head down and staying focused on and disciplined on what you're after. And also being humble enough to know, that you need to learn more, and that you need to, I think, the greatest investment and myself. I mean, it's really just, I don't know, man, putting in the time and discipline, man. There was a couple of years where, some of my best friends were having kids,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And I hadn't seen them within 2 years. And I was never oblivious to those things. And it makes you feel bad. Um, you're not seeing them, you're not seeing your family. So I think the discipline is, is, is required.
Yeah.
And on a
And it
level
gets
that you've
lonely.
never done
But
that
you
before.
just got to keep going,
It
right?
does, man. It does.
Yeah.
And you know what? Most people, it's not even they don't even do it on purpose. They just don't even realize what's going on. But that really is discipline. And I guess that's you can having the discipline to read the books or to watch this thing or to learn what you need to learn. However you learn is whether it's a visual or whether you're reading or whether you go to a seminar. That's been the biggest thing for me is I don't mind looking stupid to ask a question. I'm always curious.
Yeah.
And then taking that and then trying it. And if it doesn't work, then trying again. I mean, that's really,
Yeah. Just being humble enough
I know a
to
lot.
ask. No egos.
Right. At the end of the day, I really just feel like at the end of the day, it's funny because I tell friends of mine, the business is doing great, we're growing. I mean, I don't even know how we went from sometimes it all happens so fast. You're doing so many things, you forget to stop and look around and look back and we're still in it, right? We're not anywhere close to where we want to be. But
But you look back, you're like, holy
I just
fuck,
lost
I
my train
really
of thought.
scaled this thing up.
Well, you know what it is that it looks like everything's going great and on the surface it is and everything, but it's I'm trying to think what the point I was trying to make for that, but I lost my train of thought. It's really, I guess what I'm getting at is that it's easy to on the surface to see
Right.
that everything is we're doing great and everything, which we are, but there's so much that goes into it to make it look that way. That most people don't see. Even with social media, like it's tough to even put all that stuff on social media, just because you're doing so much. And really just I think, some days we wake up and it's like we're killing it. I'm like, oh man, we just got this new project, we got paid, everything's going great, man. And there's other days and when it's just you like what, and it makes you question like, do I have any idea what I'm doing?
What?
I'm gonna be broke. So there's that, it's a constant battle with myself. And so but one of the things I think I've realized, and I think one of the most important things is that, and this is what a lot of these guys on that I follow talk about, and it's you can only take your business as far as your personal growth, and that for me really made sense. I'm not going to be able to grow my business to a $10 million, $100 million business,
Yeah.
which by the way, those are some of our goals here. If I'm not a $10 million type of person or $100 million type of person, now there's plenty of ways to get lucky with stuff and you could be, a YouTuber and stuff like that, but we're building, we're building something here that requires me to be a certain type of person in order to get my business there. So everything is a byproduct. Like money is a byproduct, having a good, if you want a good physique, if you want a six pack, it's a byproduct of eating healthy and going to the gym. You don't, the same way, if you want to make a bunch of money, you got to do all this other stuff first and the money will come, so I think that's been a big, one of the biggest things that I've learned, about the discipline and about being focused and everything. So,
Dude, I
especially
totally
in Miami,
agree with
it's
you,
easy
man.
to get caught up and
Like if you've got ambitious goals, like you said, 10 million, 50 million, $100 million, you're like, you gotta actually have that identity. What does a $10 million man look like? What does he think? How does he think?
Right.
What type of relationship he needs to have? What type of habits, actions he needs to have to get there? It's simple, but it's not easy. And not everybody can do that, And that is the name of the game, It's like,
Right.
you know what you want to do, but that actions that you have to take, the habits you have to form, the relationships you have to build to get there, that is the hardest part. And that is the name of the game. And to me, that's been like,
Right.
I'll tell you mine. My single greatest investment has been investing into coaching, mentorship. I would not have been where I am today. And there's a long way to go for me as well. If because of my coaches and mentors who have done what I wanted to do for, and it saved me years of time. You know, I could have either tried to Google, YouTube, figure it out myself, and it took me 5, 10 years. Versus I'm like, here's the money, teach me what you know that I don't know about Facebook ads, Google ads, SEO, content creation, building a team, culture, like you name it. You know, like my background has been software engineer, and then from software engineer to marketing, it's totally different, right? And becoming an entrepreneur, like it's not like you need to know one skill. Like there's so many different skills that you need to acquire, like hiring, sales, project management, operate. Like there's so many, I can't even name it. And the only way that you know is like just by learning from others who are the best in what they do. You know, it's crazy. So, but yeah, man. Final thoughts. If someone is in your 20 years old, 25 years old, they're wanting to do exactly what you've done or accomplish, want to be a pool designer, architect, or get into the pool industry, what would be your recommendation for them? How should they get started?
Well, I'm a little bit different than most, maybe because I started from the pool industry. I really do think now. I don't think it's a requirement, but I think if you know, if you want to be a landscape architect or something, you know, I would go get a landscape, especially if you're young. You know, go get a landscaping job. If you want to be in the pool industry, go get a job. You know, either servicing pools or building pools first. Especially in this industry where we don't really have the formal education that other industries, right? You can't go to school to get a degree in aquatic design or whatever. There are some stuff like there's an aquatic engineering degree that I have, but for the most part, it's kind of just it's not that serious. But I think if somebody wants to get in this industry, I really think the hands-on, there is no replacing the hands-on experience. And for me, that has been the largest, well, for a time, you know, for a time, that was my largest asset, was that I had actually done this in the field. And I had a deeper level of understanding when I was speaking to clients, and they could pick up on that. It was obvious. And then you just keep doing that. And so I think that's a great place to start. Get your hands dirty, man. And you know, have some fun with it. Get some dirty and get your hands, and then simultaneously at night or whatever, you can, you know, depending on how quickly you want to move. You know, these educational entities that they do have online are very beneficial. But I'm also a big believer in making your own decisions and educating yourself in a sense where, you know, you don't necessarily need to follow one educational system's structure, right? You take away the best and apply it, you know, how you feel is the best way to apply it, not necessarily how that entity thinks you should apply stuff like that. So I think that would be and just work your, I don't know if I can curse on here. I almost did. I don't even tell.
Do it, man.
And just work your fucking ass off, man. That's really the biggest thing you can control, man. If you may not be the smartest person, you may not be. And the other thing is that is sometimes we can only, you know, if we can't see the finish line in sight, we don't even realize it's there sometimes. But it's totally doable, man. All this shit is and it gets easier. But you got to be willing to, 3 to 5 years, man, of just grinding.
Work your ass off. Can't say that enough.
And not
work your ass off.
Yeah. Work your fucking ass off. Yeah. Seriously, don't just say you're doing it either, man. If you start putting in the work, man, and you start to learn, educate yourself, and if that's all you start doing after at least 2-3 years, man, you'll start to see momentum. And momentum is compounding. That stuff's real. You start to roll. You start to get one, and you get another, and then you have too much work, and you got to hire people. You know, so it's not easy. It's probably the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it's definitely worth it, and it's entirely doable. I think that's what.
Jonny, if somebody wants to reach out to you, get some advice from you, where should they talk to you? Like, how should they talk to you?
Don't call me. Don't text me. No, I'm kidding. I mean, Instagram is probably the easiest way. DM me on Instagram.
Okay.
I think my email's on the website. Or just get my phone number from ask around. People know me. Get my phone number. I always tell people, man, I'm an open book, man. I tell them, I joke around and say I work 8 days a week. That's all I do. So I'm happy to, you know, call, text, DM me anytime. I try to make myself available as much as possible.
Perfect. Love that. Well, Jonny, appreciate your time. It's been an amazing time talking to you, and I look forward to many, many more conversations with you, man.
I appreciate it. So do I. Thank you very much, Syed. This was great.
Thanks, man. You too. Thanks.